Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and iOS 27 is just about a month and a half away from being shown for the first time at WWDC 2026. It will take place on June 8th around 10 a.m. Pacific time or 1 p.m. Eastern time. We'll have a keynote, and Apple will show off iOS 27 for the first time along with their other operating systems. But I wanted to go over all of the features that supposedly have been leaked so far. Now, the first thing is supported devices. Typically every year, Apple will drop support for phones. Sometimes they don't, but that's rare. And this time around, according to a recent leak, it seems that Apple would drop support for the iPhone SE2, iPhone 11, iPhone 11 Pro, and iPhone 11 Pro Max. That would mean anything from the iPhone 12 and newer would still be supported, but they would drop support for those older phones. This makes sense as they continue to do this. However, many people have said this year will be a stability and performance upgrade. If that's the case, then it doesn't make sense to drop support. So we'll have to see if Apple actually does drop support for it. I would imagine they will, just so that it's less devices to support, but those devices will still get security updates for years to come. And again, with stability, that's one thing Mark Gurman has actually said, that stability will be the focus this year, just like it was many years ago, going from Leopard to Snow Leopard on Mac OS X. So Apple took a year off, basically. They did add some features, but really focused on performance and stability, and it was a great year. So hopefully we see that finally this year. It's been rumored for many years, but this time, with the lack of features that have been leaked, it seems like this could possibly be what they're going to do. And as far as new features, well, there are a few to talk about. The first one has to do with the home screen. Currently, we can edit the home screen by pressing and holding, tapping edit in the upper left. Then we can add widgets, customize it, edit the wallpaper, change our icons to clear. We could tint the icons and everything else. However, sometimes you could get frustrated or mistakenly maybe change something you didn't mean and then lose the setup. According to Mark Gurman, we may be able to see the option in this same window to undo or redo. I would love to see this not only on the home screen, but also the control center, where currently you can set the control center back to its default configuration, but you can't actually undo. So I would like to see this across the entire OS, and hopefully this is something we actually get. Another thing that many people do or don't like is liquid glass. I actually like it, and we do have the option to customize it a little bit already, and that can be found under display and brightness and then liquid glass. But according to Mark Gurman, Apple has been working on a slider to change liquid glass throughout the entire OS. And we have a little bit of a preview of that on the lock screen here. If we go to customize within our liquid glass options, we then of course can change the overall glass opacity, make it more glass-like or less glass-like. So if you like the look, you can change it, and hopefully we see this slider throughout the entire OS this year if they can get it right. So this is something I guess Apple has wanted to add but had some issues with it already, so hopefully they'll get it ready with iOS 27. Also, the keyboard is said to get an update, or at least Apple is testing it. Many people have complained that the keyboard is a little bit buggy, and it seems like within the keyboard, sometimes autocorrect has gotten worse. So this is iOS 26.5 on iPhone 17 Pro Max. And autocorrect sometimes works okay, sometimes it doesn't. They did correct an issue with the keyboard where you would mistype a letter next to you even though you pressed the correct letter. That has already been resolved, but Apple is supposedly working on a keyboard that not only could update your overall words or correct them, but also give you suggestions that could better fit the conversation, similar to Grammarly. So again, we could see this in the near future, and hopefully Apple does add that. I know quite a few people would like to see a number row. That's something I'm not really a big fan of, as I like just pressing the key, going in and seeing the number row and keeping the keyboard clean, but this is something I know a lot of people want, and maybe they'll update that as well. Of course, the big thing that many people are waiting for is an upgraded Siri. Many of us have been calling it Siri 2.0, and we thought it would already be here as Apple introduced it some time ago with the initial introduction of Apple Intelligence, but it seems like it's finally coming later this year, and this is according to Google, who have mentioned their partnership with Apple on stage the other day. Google has actually said that they partnered with Apple to bring Siri to the next level using Gemini later this year. So it looks like it's coming with iOS 27. They even had an Apple logo on the screen, so this is definitely a partnership that's happening. The rumors are actually true there. Siri is also said to be moving to the dynamic island, according to Mark Gurman. So on phones that don't have the dynamic island, Siri will probably be limited since it doesn't already have Apple Intelligence, but maybe instead of having this new sort of glowing look, it would be in the dynamic island. And within the dynamic island, when you activate Siri, it's said to replicate basically what we had with the invite for WWDC 2026, where it would get sort of bright like the 26 is here, and then allow you to go into Siri. So this is something we could see. We don't know if they're changing the entire design overall, or it's just going to be in the dynamic island now with maybe a brighter look. Siri will also supposedly understand context a little bit better as far as what's going on our screen if we allow that, and also within apps as well to provide comprehensive information about whatever you ask, or maybe proactively provide flight information based on a conversation, for example. So these are sort of examples Apple has already given. Hopefully we'll see this with iOS 27. You'll also have more options for Siri extensions, so currently we can use ChatGPT with it with Apple Intelligence. Scroll down, you'll see the option for an extension with ChatGPT, and it seems like we could have more options with maybe Google Gemini, Claude, and others. So these are things we could see in the near future. Another set of features was mentioned by Mac Rumors, found by Nick Alvarez, in the code where we could have some future features within Safari. For example, within a tab group, it could automatically name the tab group based on the content within those tabs. So that's something it could do in the future. You'll see these don't currently match. I need to change it around a little bit, but that's something we could see in the near future with iOS 27. Also, Apple's said to be working on visual intelligence features. For example, if we go into visual intelligence, if we had a nutrition label from maybe a product we're drinking or eating, it could then scan directly into the Health app, pushing that information into the Health app and helping us better understand the nutrition values of that product we're eating or drinking. So that's something we could see in the near future. This is not to be confused with the nutrition labels that are in the developer app, where it talks about actual nutrition here, where it's talking about accessibility labels, letting you know what's actually available within that app as far as privacy and more. Now, also accessibility features will typically be shown for the first time for the next version of iOS in around the second week of May. So we could see the first introduction of iOS 27 features. Apple just says they're for the next version of iOS, but this is what we expect so far. So again, visual intelligence, nutrition labels would be very helpful, especially if you're trying to understand or track calories and things like that. Also, we may be able to utilize visual intelligence to not only add those nutrition labels within Health and other things, but also add printed phone numbers and addresses directly into contacts. So maybe you have something you're scanning with text on it, it will then automatically be able to add it into a contact like we can do with maybe a time or event within the calendar today. Also, you'll be able to create digital passes from scanning membership cards like gym passes. For example, scan it with visual intelligence and add it directly into the Wallet app, and then have it there even if the digital pass is not available from that particular provider. So that's something we could see in the near future. There's also recent information saying that Photos will get some editing updates. Now, hopefully they'll change the Photos app just a little bit, but Apple Intelligence will help within Photos itself. So currently, if we go into a photo, then we go to edit the photo, we have the option for cleanup. This works a little bit, but not as great as we would hope. For example, if maybe we try and erase this here, the YouTube plaque that I have on the wall right there, it should auto erase it, and it does a pretty good job of that. And of course I can undo that as well. So we'll undo and bring that back. However, Apple's said to add a couple different features to this, such as extend. So extend, you could extend the borders of the photo outside of the scenery you already have here. So maybe you took a photo outside, you wanted to make it a little bit wider, it could fill in things such as trees or maybe other objects within the photo itself. In addition to this, it could also auto-correct or enhance the overall photo. We do have that a little bit already with some of our options. So if you wanted to adjust it, for example, we have this auto option here where it will adjust the photo automatically, and enhance will do the same thing using Apple Intelligence to correct lighting, color, and basically that's it. So maybe an enhanced version of this feature. In addition to this, we should have a reframe option, which will allow you to change the perspective of a photo after you take it. So instead of having this perspective, maybe we could shift it a different way, or maybe you're in a photo from one angle, you could change it to a different angle. So these are things we could see in the future, all enhanced with Apple Intelligence. Within the Shortcuts app, we expect an update as far as Apple Intelligence goes, where we already have some of this. If we go in the gallery, you'll see it here, where it says use models in your shortcuts. However, many of us don't use shortcuts as it takes time to create them, and this could be solved using Apple Intelligence with iOS 27. We could speak using natural language and create a shortcut based on our need. So this would be something super helpful for many of us, or maybe we just want to open app settings quickly and have it create that shortcut for us instead of creating it ourselves step by step like I have here. So tap App Settings, it goes directly into your settings for that specific app, and I'll link that shortcut in the description. Also, if we use Calendar, the calendar is said to benefit more from AI integration. What that means specifically, we don't really know though, but maybe it could be more contextual, again, understanding what's going on in your screen within different apps and more. Also, Health was originally said to be getting a huge upgrade with an assistant, according to Mark Gurman, but supposedly some of the features have been pulled back for now. So it seems Apple has stepped back, maybe to refine things a little bit better instead of sort of giving themselves even more tasks. But we could get a redesigned app with maybe better context, understanding of what's going on with our health. And you'll see that here where it's pretty clear to me, at least so far, but you'll see things like this, maybe we could change, maybe we'll have more options, and of course it only has a little bit of liquid glass, so maybe we'll see a revamp there. In addition to this, we could see more satellite features. I've mentioned this before, where Apple is said to be bringing satellite-based features to iOS 27 beyond just emergency services like we have now. So maybe with Apple Maps, we could use satellite data. So maybe we're in a remote area, we don't have any Wi-Fi, of course, or cellular connectivity. We could then use a satellite to connect back to sort of understand where we are and get our bearings. We could also use data through that, and then also photos within messages, maybe to send this to someone if maybe you're stuck somewhere and want to give them more information as far as where to find you. And then satellite with 5G connectivity, also all without having a direct view of the sky. So these are things that we could see with iOS 27 as far as satellite goes. Now, if stability is something that Apple is really focusing on this year, I would not expect a ton of different features. But again, we should see accessibility features in just a couple weeks, and that will be the first set of features that Apple actually confirms is coming to iOS 27. As far as any other features, I would expect Siri 2.0, but that's really it. We don't know what else Apple will add, but I would expect at least maybe a dozen new features that will help us use our phone a little bit better. And that would be much better than the 300 to 400 features we typically see every year. So maybe if we just have under 50, that would be great as far as features and changes and really help the overall usability of the phone. Let me know what features you'd like to see most in the comments below, and of course I'll link this wallpaper in the description like I normally do. If you haven't subscribed already though, please subscribe, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.